75% of CVs never actually reach a human being. And that's not because the person isn't qualified, but because a piece of software is rejecting them in under a second. So today I'm going to show you exactly how that software reads your CV and the 5-part structure that gets you past it without turning your CV into keyword soup. So if you've been applying and hearing nothing back, this video is probably the reason why. So let's get to it. So first, let's actually talk about what's happening when you hit submit. Most companies, even small ones, now run CVs through what is called an Applicant Tracking System, or ATS for short. So before a recruiter even opens it, the system is scoring the CV against job description, keywords, some formatting, structure, and sometimes even little critical things like layout of dates. And if it can't parse your CV properly, which is where it imports it into the system, or it's missing terms that they're looking for, you're going to get filtered out immediately. So regardless of how good you are actually for the role, if what it's seeing on paper doesn't marry up, it's going to be rejecting you wrongly. So here's the part most people get wrong. They think that fixing it is stuffing the CV full of keywords or downloading fancy Canva templates to stand out visually. Both of those probably actually backfire because complex templates with columns, graphs, text boxes can't be parsed in properly. So ATSs can't read them and it just ends up jumbled text or blank sections, and keyword stuffing, it just gets flagged as spam, especially by newer systems, or if an actual human is reading it, it reads incredibly poorly. So the goal isn't to trick the system, it's to write a CV that a piece of software can parse cleanly and a hiring manager actually wants to read. Those two things are more aligned than people think, so let's see how. So in 2026, this is the order I would recommend you use when formatting your CV. Section 1, your contact details and a one-line positioning statement. It's not an objective, this is just a one-liner under the header that says what you are and what you are best at. So something like marketing manager with 6 years experience driving demand generation for B2B SaaS companies. That line alone tells both the ATS and a human what job you're best aligned for. Section 2, a short skills and core competencies section of 6 to 10 items pulled directly using the language that they are using in the job description. This is where you're going to really utilize leveraging keywords that mirror your experience to the job description. So if the job description says stakeholder management, don't write worked with stakeholders, mirror the actual phrase, and AI can absolutely help do this. So section 3 is your experience, but each bullet point should follow a simple formula of action, what you did, a measurable result. So not just saying responsible for managing a team, it should say something like led a team of 5 to deliver a product launch that grew signings by 22% in the first quarter. And the numbers don't have to be revenue. They can be team size, time saved, error rate reduction, customer satisfaction scores, or anything that's relevant to the specific role that you're applying for, or indeed the role that you've come from. Section 4, education. Look, keep it brief is what I would say. Unless you're early in your career, nobody is overly fussed if you have a GCSE in drama. By the way, I got an A. It's not relevant, you know. Unfortunately, what I done 20 something years ago at secondary school is no longer transferable to the workplace. Yes, it's great for people to see that you've got an education. And obviously, if an educational level is a prerequisite, make sure that's highlighted. Typically, this is more for graduate roles, but you don't need to go into war and peace about the minutiae, about every single grade for every single GCSE or equivalent that you have. Section 5, anything that's genuinely relevant to the opportunity. So certification, qualification, proficiency in tools or skills, or even languages. Skip the hobbies though, unless they're a genuine talking point or actually irrelevant. And that's it. Keep it simple, single column, standard fonts, no graphics, no tables. Probably quite boring to look at, but it will read perfectly to both the machine and a human being. And that's the combination that we're aiming to get. So if we give a real example of this, a bullet point that we see a lot is something like responsible for handling customer queries and updating records. Totally normal thing to write. probably actually does what it says on the tin, and that's what the individual was doing. But it doesn't tell the reader about how well you did it. So let's reshape that and reform that. What did you actually do? And what changed because of it? Say you handled customer queries and updated the CRM system, but you also noticed response times were slow and helped fix that. You could reframe that as something like resolved an average of 40 customer queries daily via whatever CRM you use, reducing an average response time from 24 hours to under 6 by restructuring the internal escalation process. And that's just an example thrown out there, but that's the same job, same person with a completely different impression given. Because now it shows judgment, initiative, and a measurable outcome, not just a list of duties. And that's the shift that I would encourage you to make throughout your whole CV. Stop describing your job and start describing your actual impact. And I want to bust one myth before we wrap it up. There's still a lot of people out there who have this CV must be one page rule. It's outdated advice for most experienced candidates. If you've got 2, 3, 4 years experience that's relevant, a one-page CV will just force you to cut out some really good information that would help you get through the screening process. So I would say 2 pages is completely normal for anyone with a few years experience, but ultimately what matters isn't the length of the CV, it's that every line earns its actual place in the document. If you're on one page, because you've got one page of really compelling, great content, and that's it, brilliant. But if you're only on one page because you shrank it down to font size 8, removed your margins, etc., all it's doing is hurting your readability. No one's going to be impressed by it. So keep it on 2 pages and really sell what you bring to the table. So to recap, write a clean and simple structure that an ATS can properly parse and read. Mirror the language from the job description in your skills section. Turn every bullet point into action plus result, not a duty, and let go of the one-page rule because it's costing you relevant content. If you want to extract the bullet point formula I use, I've actually got a video breaking this down if you go and look at other videos on my page. And if this helped, hit the follow and subscribe button because next week I'm covering you might be applying to 100 jobs and hearing absolutely nothing back, which is a different problem entirely. See you in the next one.